Thank you for your work in week one. I'll be going through and commenting on things shortly on the discussion boards and assigning points. But I'm glad to see so many of you have said so many things on the boards, and I look forward to interacting with you more in the coming weeks. For week two, our subject is ethics, and as you may or may not be aware, ethics is high in the mind of people outside of philosophy as well as inside philosophy today. We're often being told about business ethics, professional ethics, medical ethics, bioethics, environmental ethics, other kinds of ethics, so much so that we have an entire concentration now at our university on ethics. So if you're interested in this area, I invite you to look for further classes. The Blackwell Companion to Philosophy describes ethics as a vital component of all of the traditions of philosophies that we know. China, Greece, India, medieval and modern Europe have all asked basic ethical questions. What is the good? Now that's not the same kind of question as asking what is good, but good is a particular thing. What makes a life a good life? What are virtues of a human being? Is there one good or one unified scheme of virtues? What are the duties that we have to each other and ourselves? There are lots of different ways of exploring ethics. Ethics is a very practical aspect in philosophy because ethics involves not just what we believe, but what we do. But often what we do is in response to what we believe, so it's important to know both sides of the equation. Your book, the Popkin and Stroll book, here, goes through ethics in a lot of different ways. It starts with Plato and Aristotle. And if you've been watching any of the videos that I've put up on my YouTube channel, and I'll post a link for that in the class, you may discover an important statement by a relatively recent philosopher named Alfred North Whitehead, who said, all of philosophy after Plato is one long footnote. Essentially, we're asking the same questions now that we asked 2,500 years ago. We're asking them in new ways with greater complexity and more details, but in many ways we're asking the same things over and over again. Sometimes we find answers that work better than others. But Plato and Aristotle both had ideas of what the good would be, what was important in life. So I invite you to look at both of them and recognize that a lot of what comes after them is in fact derivative of them, owes a lot to them as a foundation. Plato looks for certain kinds of absolutes. There is an absolute idea of virtue. There is an absolute idea of good that sort of exists out there in a way that is sort of more objective and more real than anything that we can have in this world. Aristotle reacts against that idea and believes that a lot of ethics becomes situational. That's not to say that he's a relativist in any kind of direct terms, although relativism often comes more from Aristotle than from Plato. But he has a key idea that's called in your book the doctrine of the mean. He looks for moderation in all things, and that's an important element in his ethical theories. There are different ideas such as hedonism, which is not quite the same as we use the word today, but it does look for pleasure or bodily stimulation, bodily goods, if you will, as one of the keys to a good life. But it doesn't do it in a sort of prurient way. After all, if you have a steak and lobster dinner, the hedonists might say you're actually shortening your life because of the cholesterol content, and therefore that's not actually the best way to go. We have cynicism and stoicism leading up to Christian ethics. Both of these ideas come to us as words. We know what it is to be cynical, we know what it is to be stoic, and we can tap in from the modern ideas backwards into the ideas that the philosophers have had. There are different ideas in ethics in the modern world that come out of Christian ethics, which still apply in many ways today among people who attend church, read the Bible, believe themselves to be faithful Christians, although there's not just one single set of Christian ethics, because you can derive Christian ethics either platonically or through Aristotle. Spinoza had some interesting ideas, but perhaps the most useful in terms of an Anglo-American sensibility towards ethics will come from the utilitarianists. So I invite you to look at Jeremy Bentham and J.S. Mill and see what you have to think about the utilitarian way. A lot of modern business ethics derive from the utilitarian way of doing things. So there's a lot of material here. I've posted several questions on the discussion board for you to be thinking about. I hope to post up a few more videos over the course of our class. I'll try to do at least one a week, and I may do a few other shorter ones to talk about some specific issues that arise that might be a little more complex. I'm going to try to keep the videos to under 5 minutes each so that the download times will be shorter if you're not on a high-speed link or a dial-up, and we'll go from there. Right now I have a cold. I apologize for the sort of stuffiness in my voice, and that's one of the reasons why I'm sitting here next to the fire, so that I can warm up and feel a little bit more secure. But I will be checking out your things online very soon, and feel free to email me or contact me if you have any questions.